rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. Don't box I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to this week's episode of the World of Gaming. And Dutch, it has been a week, man. It's Gamescom week.
Yes.
So plenty of games to talk about. And of course, a couple of other things.
Yep.
But first, let me welcome our awesome community. I see a lot of familiar names already in the chat. A big welcome to you guys. And of course, a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you're listening. Welcome. And Dutch, a big welcome to you. How are you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Again, we've got a bank holiday weekend coming up, so I'm looking forward to having a longer weekend. And then I've got a week off. Not next week, but the week after. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm good otherwise, just tired from work. How about you? Oh yeah, I think you're muted again.
I'm muted. Okay. So I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm preparing to go on vacation. Sunday night, we are driving to Italy. The wife, the kids, and I. We're going camping. I cannot wait. So, yeah, man, I'm good. And besides that, of course, when it's showcase season or showcase time, it's always exciting. And yeah, Gamescom usually isn't the biggest showcase of the year. That's usually the June showcases. But we still got some quite interesting announcements and quite interesting stuff to talk about. So I'm looking forward to today's show, man.
Yes,
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep.
Because, because of me taking a vacation, we won't have a podcast next week, right?
Yes.
And the week after, actually, for 2 weeks. We're going to take a break, and then we will be back in September, fresh as ever.
Hoping by that point there is some good news to talk about.
Yeah, there should be. There should be, man. All right. But yeah, Dutch, of course, we want to start this show as always with our games of the week. Jingle time.
Jingle time.
All right. So, as always, of course, we want to know from everyone in the chat, what have you guys been playing? Yeah, and Dutch, what kept you busy lately? What have you been playing?
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't really been playing too much. I've just been when I have had a little bit of free time, I've been on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But of course, now I'm playing it not on stream. I've got a separate save for streaming, and now I've got a save where I can just chill out and play the game through the way I want to play it.
Sweet.
So I'm literally doing all the areas and doing all the quests in every area and all the side quests in every area and all the different towers and things like that. So I'm mopping every area up as I'm going along. So it's taking longer to do it, but I'm getting everything out of that game that I can. So I'm enjoying it. I'm on to chapter 13 now. So I'm almost to the end.
So you're close to the end. Yeah.
Couple of little things to mop up afterwards, but yeah, almost at the end now. I can see it in sight. I'm glad I got past that mansion part with the puzzles. That was boring.
It was boring.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But after that, it has picked up. The story's got interesting. I went and done. I've forgotten the name of the guy now. It was a separate boss battle that you don't have to do, where you collect all of the. I keep forgetting the bloody.
It's been too long since I played it. Well, half a year or
these
so.
Different kind of armor parts as you go along. I keep forgetting what they called them in there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, the robot kind of guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that. The kind of samurai boss. Done that, and then there was this boss arena that you had to go to, and you had to face 2 summons, and then another 2 summons, and another 2 summons, and then you fight him, and then when you beat him, you get him as a summon. So I did that as well. That was a pain in the arse. Getting Odin unlocked as a summon was he's until you master him and you know how to make him avoid doing his one-hit kill, because he does one-hit kill you with one of his ultra attacks. So until you master how to do that, you'll just continuously lose. So thankfully I learnt how to beat him, and then when I beat him when he was alongside Alexander, it was much easier, so it didn't take as long the second time around. Then I unlocked the big summon, and now I'm on chapter 13 in the Setra kind of maze palace thing that you're in. So no, I'm enjoying it. It's I don't know, like many, I'm probably enjoying this one more than I'm enjoying than I enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think it's just a bit more to it. The thing that I didn't the thing that I didn't like about Remake was the fact that you didn't get to the open world, and you didn't have that like Final Fantasy feeling as it was. That Rebirth now gives you, where you can kind of go around on the airship, or you can go around on the boat, or you can go in between different biomes and things like that, and take in different areas. I like that about Final Fantasy. So that was the thing that was missing from Remake, and I still to this day say I'd much rather they did it so that you could play them back to back when they finished the trilogy, without having to lose your character progress or anything like that, and the story just continues. But yeah, I'm enjoying it anyway. So that's what I'm playing at the moment.
Yeah.
And then I think this weekend I'm going to start my Red Dead Redemption 2 playthrough. Finally.
We talked about it last week already, but it's time for you to play that game properly, man.
Yep.
Yeah, time indeed. Let me see. What are people playing in the chat? So we have Dustin Lambert, who is grinding his way through Ayuden Chronicles, which is a fantastic game that I really enjoyed. And he's back to Vampire Survivors. Sith Lord is replaying Mafia 1 now on Game Pass. Yeah, man. The Mafia remake is in Game Pass, and I couldn't recommend that game more. The Mafia remake was phenomenal. I played it a couple of years ago when it actually came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. That's how you do a remake, you know.
Yeah.
They overhauled not just the visuals, but they adjusted so much in the gameplay mechanics so that the shooting feels modern and everything. And it
we've
is
got
still a
some good
fantastic
Mafia
story.
news to talk about today as well.
Oh yeah, indeed we do. Indeed we do. We'll get to that, man. We'll get to that. But yeah, the Mafia remake is actually definitely worth playing. Pyromed is also playing Vampire Survivors,
Nice.
which is great. Zach Riley is doing some last minute stuff in World of Warcraft before the expansion is out in a few hours. Yeah, that's, I think, out tomorrow. Well, Germany tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff here. So yeah, did we miss someone in your chat?
No. Fanto's just confirmation of his mortgage agreement today, so he's buying less games. But he's getting he's got Space Marine 2 now pre-installing for him. But that's all we've got in chat here.
All right. So yeah, man, I have been playing a little bit more of Dungeons of Hinterberg, but I decided to put that on hold, just because I want to. I'm struggling with what I should install on my alley for my vacation, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, Dungeons of Hinterberg is perfect to play on the alley whilst enjoying the sun in Italy, and watching the kids play in the sea, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. So I'm gonna continue that on in my vacation, and I'm still I want to play Star Wars Outlaws because I'm subscribed now, Dutch, officially to Ubisoft Plus Premium.
Yeah.
You know, you get early access with that, and so I could start it on Tuesday in early access for UB Plus subscribers. However, I need to preload it, and it's not possible to preload yet on PC. So I do hope that
When
this
do you
is.
travel?
We drive through the night of Sunday to Monday.
And when
So
does
Monday 3 a.m. we start.
and when does this game release?
On Tuesday.
Oh no!
So one day after. So that's like, and this damn Ubisoft app only, you know, when you open it up, it only shows you can either pre-order.
Yeah.
And when you click on included in Premium Plus, you click on that button, it just forwards you to your library. And so no preload yet on PC. It's pre-installed on my Xbox though. But yeah, it reminds me a lot like last year. Last year we went on family vacation a couple of days before Starfield came out. And Starfield was actually available for preload. So I preloaded that and was ready to go. And then they had this gigantic, I think it was 60, 70 gig day one patch. And you know, when you're on mobile in a foreign country with data traffic, you kind of have to, you can't download it through that. And Wi-Fi is usually, when you're camping, not an option.
Nope.
But I had luck last year.
Yes.
Because it was actually a super funny story. That morning when I wanted to play Starfield and I couldn't, I decided to walk into the nearest city to go to the bakery. And the guy working there actually also had an Ellie in his hand, and I was like, "Oh, cool! What you playing?" And he's like, "I'm downloading that damn day one patch for Starfield." And I told him about my problem, and he was like, "Bro, bring your Ellie to here in the store, and you can use our Wi-Fi here." And so I walked back, took my Ellie, then sat for 2 hours in the bakery to download that day one patch. Yeah, that was actually good fortune there. But anyway, I'm hoping that Star Wars Outlaws will be available on PC for preload, so I can take it with me. But besides that, Dutch, I've been playing actually quite a lot of Diablo 4 again. Season 5 is awesome.
Yeah, see,
I'm
this
rocking
is the
us.
thing. You can tell when you're working at home because I see you pop online during the day, and I'm like, you motherfuckers on your Xboxes while I'm sat at work.
That's the beauty of working from home, right? You have
Yeah.
like a spare 30 minutes or so in between two meetings, and you just pop in. And I've actually grinded a lot in Diablo 4, especially in the evenings. Yeah, man, season 5 is fantastic. They've added so many cool new gameplay modes. You know, they have this kind of like a horde mode, you know, where you have to beat wave after wave after wave of enemies.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, man. So much fun. I'm rocking a sorcerer build. I feel super overpowered now. Haven't maxed out yet. I'm level 75 or so. But it's fantastic, Diablo 4, man. Season 5, and I can't wait for Vessel of Hatred. But we'll get to that as well.
I'm waiting for Shattered Space, which isn't too far away now, so that's right up my street, the horror expansion, and then I'll be back on Starfield.
Yeah, but we have to wait till the end of September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so that's basically what I've been playing, man. Tons of Diablo. And we still have our clan, which is actually not doing too bad. The World of Gaming and Midweek Mix-Up clan.
Still doing well.
We're doing well, actually. We have some pretty active users there.
Nice.
So
good to hear.
So we're doing good. We need to get you back in.
Yeah, someday. Someday I'll come back.
Yeah. You're saying that now. to just, but
one day.
We both know you won't. One day. Yeah.
I might come back for Vessel of Hatred. I'll come back for Vessel of Hatred because that's an actual expansion, not just a season.
Yeah, but the seasons are good, man.
Yeah, they might be, but I'd rather have an actual meaty expansion to play than just a season. That's why I've not come back to Starfield so far, because it's, as much as these updates are cool little life add-ons,
but it's different.
It's not like an actual.
That's different.
Yeah, but because to me it's the same. It's not like an additional story. It's not like anything meaty that I can dive into.
Oh, it is. The seasons have additional story content, man. Oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah, they do. And they have different gameplay modes and unique other things. It's worth it, man. If you start your seasonal character, they ask you whether you want to skip the campaign and go directly to the story content of the season. And then if you do so, there's an intro. If you skip the actual campaign, which I highly recommend to do, if you start a seasonal character, you start with an intro, and you get your first story quests, and the story actually aligns into how they introduce the new gameplay modes, you know, and it's really well done, man. We need to get you back. I'll work on
Vessel
that.
Of Hatred.
I'll work on convincing you, man.
With Vessel of Hatred. I'll come back with Vessel of Hatred.
Okay. Let's see. I'll hold you to your word.
Okay.
I'll hold you to your word. All right. I'm going to close the poll in the chat. So people have voted for Cyberpunk gameplay today, which is sweet. Just going to close the poll real quick. Put on the gameplay. I have to switch. I thought people want
See, I've
to
got today's Xbox Gamescom podcast thing that you've got on for my viewers. So that's what they're watching.
They watch a lot of people talk about games without the
Star Wars
audio.
Outlaws was on there a moment ago. Had a good gameplay section.
Okay,
It's all right.
Good. Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, Dutch. Let us use that as a segue into the news of the week.
Yes. Jingle.
Jingle our way into the news.
Jingle the way into the news.
All right. So, Dutch, let us directly start with Gamescom. Unfortunately, you and I, we both couldn't make it this year. Or intentionally didn't make it because priorities sometimes.
Yeah. I'm sporting last year's t-shirt on though. I'm sporting last year's t-shirt.
Which is sweet. Yeah, I mean, we made that decision. I think for us it was the right decision because basically money limitations. Yeah, I had to make the decision whether I go on a vacation with the kids and wife or pay for Gamescom, and I decided pro family. But seeing all those people there, you know, the photos, and of course you get sentimental, and what could have been if we've been there.
That's what I'm saying. Like I miss. I think this year I don't have FOMO about being at Gamescom, but I do miss seeing friends and spending time with friends. I think that's the only thing that I've got a little bit of FOMO
Absolutely.
for.
Absolutely.
But I'll have to make time and do that later on in the year or beginning of the year or something. Come over and see each other or something, or set something up where we can call or meet up. I think we'll do that instead.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan, man. Sounds like a plan. Would have been great to meet, you know, the Xbox era guys again, and of course Chaos Sante is there, and Idle Sloth, and all the good folks. But still, Gamescom is the biggest gaming event in the world, right? 350,000 people are expected this year.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Even if you compare it to E3 days, you know, where E3, even after it went or opened up for public for public folks, they were still not even up to 50,000, and in Cologne you have 350,000 people. However, usually Gamescom isn't the showcase where the biggest news get announced, but we still got some great announcements and to talk about. And opening night live. If it wasn't for Jeff Keighley, honestly, it would have been a good show.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I was like, during the show, but then I wrote down this list here, and we're gonna talk about it. What was actually in there, and if you think about it, it was actually a pretty good show. Let's just start with opening night live, and then let's discuss some of the other news that came out of Gamescom. Dutch, opening night live opened up with a teaser trailer for Borderlands 4. What are your thoughts? What do you expect? Were you surprised to see it there?
Yeah, I think it was a good surprise. I wasn't expecting Borderlands 4 to be announced, let alone seeing it at opening night live. So I think that's a good catch for Keighley. I think this already is. It started off better than his Summer Game Fest stream. I thought his Summer Game Fest thing didn't have anything of note to talk about. But at least opening night live, he started off with a brand new game announcement. That was Borderlands 4. The only thing I would say is I hope Borderlands 4 is better than Borderlands 3. I
You
didn't.
didn't like
Not really. I own it. I
3?
played a little bit of it, and I haven't been back to it. Just didn't click with this the same as 1 or 2. And I don't know whether or not that's just a time thing where in the past I was playing with friends on Borderlands 1 and 2 and I was having fun that way. When I was playing on Borderlands 3, nobody really owned the game.
I did.
You might have, but
man.
I don't think we spoke about it. And
No,
nobody
not
was
really.
nobody was playing it. So I was just playing by myself, and Borderlands is more of a, for me it's always been more of a co-op game and just having stupid fun in co-op and driving around and having shenanigans. But I didn't have any of that. I was just playing solo, and I didn't have anywhere near as much fun. So I just parked the bus and didn't play it again.
Interesting, because I actually enjoyed Borderlands 3. Is it the best? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it was still a very good game. I really enjoyed it. I never really got into the end game of Borderlands 3 though.
Yeah.
Because I do enjoy to play the campaign solo. The campaign is totally fine solo, but of course the end game is fun in co-op. So yeah, man, I was actually really surprised because we knew that it is in the works. Yeah, they have already said. Gearbox has spoken about it. We are working on a new Borderlands game, so we knew it is in the making. I mean, in hindsight, we could have guessed it with the movie being in the theaters right now, even though it's apparently awful. I haven't seen it. Have you? You haven't seen it either, right?
No. And I now refuse
No.
to either, because it's not even just critics that are saying it's awful. It's fans
It's
that are saying
literally
it's absolutely
everyone.
awful.
Yeah. So I'll wait and watch it once it's available on one of the streaming services. But yeah, of course, with that being in theaters right now, it kind of makes sense, right? To kind of tease it. And it was still a good surprise, though I didn't expect it, and I really do hope that they bring back some of the classic stuff from Borderlands. You know, I want to have a naughty claptrap in there, and I do hope that they don't go fully open world, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that was the one thing where Borderlands 3 wasn't really open world. It had these like huge open areas, and it was kind of already too big. You had those open areas as well in 1 and 2, but they kind of made sense in those games because they were still pretty narrow.
Yeah.
But Borderlands isn't a game, you know, where you discover and explore an open world. And so that's the one thing I'm really hoping. Dustin Lambert in the chat says, can we not have Gen Z write the Borderlands 4 story? That'd be nice. So yeah, I wonder where they will go, and they announced it for 2025, right? So next year, man.
Getting busy, getting very busy.
Oh, 25 is shaping up to be an insane year for video games.
Yep.
If you think about it, what is already in 25?
Fable, GTA, Borderlands, you name it. Avowed.
It's insane. Avowed is there. This is Doom.
Yeah.
Is 25, right? It's gonna be an amazing year. GTA is gonna very much dominate the discussion next year, though.
Yeah, it's a good job. It's a good job that's the fall, because if it released any way before any of these other games, we're doomed.
Yeah, indeed. So, anything you want to add to Borderlands before we move on?
No, it was a nice surprise. I didn't expect it.
Nice surprise, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So then the next segment was Black Ops 6. They've shown the campaign, an in-depth look into the campaign. Well, it's Call of Duty, right? I know the campaign is going to be good.
Yeah.
They usually are. Good 5 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 if you play it on hard. But yeah, I'm looking forward to play the campaign. I would not buy Black Ops 6, honestly, just for a 5-hour campaign, because I'm really not interested in the multiplayer. And that's just not my thing. But I do enjoy those campaigns, and with the game being now in Game Pass, I'm definitely looking forward to play the campaign. It's visually good, the shooting feels always good in Call of Duty games. You have these huge action set pieces, and so I'm probably gonna get a good 5 hours out of it. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Call of Duties as well is you don't want to see too much of it because the campaigns aren't long to start off with. So I was kind of watching it. I was watching it at a glance in the background, but I didn't want to take it in too much because I don't want to spoil the missions. And they pretty much give you an entire mission on there.
But they skipped over a couple of parts.
I think they just skipped. Yeah, they just skipped kind of some of the talking sections and just got straight into the action parts. But even still, no, it looks good. It looks good. Nice and a little bit stealthy on that mission and kind of do X, Y, and Z. So no, it looks cool. Again, another one for October. It's all on Game Pass, so I don't have to worry about buying it.
True. Speaking of Game Pass, at the end of the trailer, they had this, Black Ops 3, October 15th or whatever. And no mentioning of it being in Game Pass.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah. I just
Why?
Shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. I mean, with Call of Duty, they have one of the biggest games of the year, if not the biggest of this year, right? Yeah. And they show that off on such a big stage, and not even mentioning it being in Game Pass. It's just so weird. And yeah, I don't know what to say about it, but it is what it is. Next, they had a very actually funny Goat Simulator trailer that was kind of like a homage to other video games,
Yeah.
Remember that guy walking through a prison, and then, for instance, you had this carriage going through the prison, and you had this famous line from the opening of Skyrim, hey, you're finally awake, and I thought it was a funny trailer. Not my game though. One thing I was actually surprised by, I didn't expect that, is Techland announced Dying Light: The Beast. A standalone spin-off from the Dying Light franchise. Gives you about 20 hours of gameplay, is what they said.
Yeah.
So it should be compared to Dying Light 2, pretty smaller or much smaller experience.
Yeah.
But it looked actually really good, and since I really enjoyed Dying Light 2, I actually am looking forward to that. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, again, I wasn't one that. I thought Dying Light was okay. I didn't pick up Dying Light 2. After playing the first one, it was like,
oh, you missed out.
I thought it was all right, but I wasn't really much a fan of the.
But the second is much better than.
Oh, I can imagine. It's just I wasn't much a fan of the parkour with hand-to-hand combat stuff. That wasn't. Just didn't really enjoy that much. I know a lot of people did, and I'm glad they did, but just didn't enjoy that kind of gameplay style. But upon seeing this announcement, I immediately thought of you because I know you thoroughly enjoyed Dying Light 2. So I thought, oh, Boxy will be pleased. He gets a new Dying Light. I wasn't expecting a new Dying Light being announced, so that's good.
Me neither. I did not see that coming, and I'm always happy about surprises. So I'll be definitely picking that up. So Dying Light the Beast. Then they had the launch trailer for Black Myth Wukong. Of course, Black Myth basically came out that day, doing insane numbers, 2.3 million concurrent players on Steam, best ever. It beat Elden Ring and all the others, which is crazy, man. And maybe we will come back to Black Myth a little later when we talk about Xbox, because it is definitely worth a discussion. Because something similar happened last year with Baldur's Gate 3, right? One of the biggest games of the years, skipping Xbox day one at least.
You know what the funny thing is about it though, and I know we'll talk about it later, is the demographic that played the game. And I think this would have also had a massive effect on low player numbers on Xbox when this released and when it releases. And we'll talk about that when we talk about Xbox later. But I think as much as it appeared that they might be missing out, I don't think in the grand scheme of things they really would have been to a massive degree. You know what? I'll just explain it now.
Now I'm interested.
I'll just explain it now.
Now I'm in.
So
87%
of the players that were playing the game were in China.
From China.
87%.
So?
Then you add another 3% for Japan and Korea. That takes it to 90%. The amount of people playing it in the West was about 7%. Now, if you have a look at Xbox's demographic and who would play it in the West, the player numbers on Xbox would have been significantly lower because there's not very many people on Xbox in Asia that own an Xbox.
That is, whilst it is true for Japan, I think China's pretty sure it is. No, it is basic. China is basically a PC country.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, both PlayStation and Xbox were not that available in China. And I know Xbox still has, being an American company, Microsoft, still has certain limitations in China. Nevertheless, those are still customers, right? And since it's all about selling software and nothing else, what happened with PlayStation? They jumped to number one electronic product on Alibaba, right, in China. So could have been a boost, man. I do get where you're coming from, that the vast majority of those gamers are located in China.
Yeah. I support the Chinese developer, which is good for them.
Which is good, absolutely. And at the end of the day, right, it doesn't matter where players are. So it is a massive successful game.
It is.
And yeah, it is. Again, to me, it is a very similar story like with Baldur's Gate 3 last year. Was
Absolutely.
One of the biggest games of 2023. It eventually came out on Xbox, but nobody cared anymore, right? The hype was gone 4 months after its initial launch, when it finally made its way to Xbox. It didn't really have an impact anymore.
Yeah.
And the same now happens with Black Myth, right? Especially in a market where you could have actually used that as a system seller to increase your install base.
It'll be interesting, first of all, to see what the PlayStation 5 uptake is for that game.
Yeah.
Before because Steam is very, as you mentioned, China is very PC heavy. Very PC heavy, which explains why it was such a substantial amount of people playing that game in China on PC.
Yeah.
The only way we can really see what kind of effect it had on the console market is when we see PS5 numbers. I personally don't think, yes, they should have had the game, absolutely. I'm never going to say that they shouldn't have had it day one, because they should have had it day one. I just don't think enough people are going to buy the game anyway to have made a massive difference. I just don't.
Mm.
Um,
Well, like you said, we don't really have official numbers
Yeah.
on the uptick in China. All we do know is that
it was successful on Steam.
it was successful on Steam, and it was also it pushed the PS5 to the number one electronic product on Alibaba, which is basically their Amazon, because
Yeah.
Amazon is not allowed to operate right in China. They have that as branded as Alibaba, and it's the number one electronic product after the launch. So it does something, right?
Yeah.
It does something, and besides that, it just shows you that more and more developers just deprioritize Xbox, which isn't a good thing, right? And we'll get to that discussion definitely a little later in the show.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, it's kind of it just is what it is. The hype and the talk around Black Myth is now, and it's not in 3-4 months when it's finally going to make its way to Xbox, and tons of other games are out and are the hot topic of the gaming world, right? It is what it is. I see people in the chat discuss how poor it runs on apparently on the PlayStation 5. Yeah, it is a demanding game, right? It's also very taxing on PC, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's got some micro stutters for all intents and purposes. For the people that I've seen playing the game, it's not a big issue. It's not something where it's kind of unplayable. It's good. It does have its stutters. It does have its moments, but it's not terrible. It's all right. It's a frame pacing issue by all accounts. It just has a frame pacing issue.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is what it is. It's one of these games that Xbox players will have to wait, or just play it outright on PC.
What's your thoughts on it? Are you going to be picking it up when it's either on PlayStation or on PC beforehand, or are you willing to wait for an Xbox version, or you're not going to get it at all?
Yeah, see, I was actually thinking about picking it up. I was debating myself, do I buy it on PlayStation? Do I buy it on PC? I would love to play it on the big screen. Yeah, so PlayStation would be the choice. But then, yeah, I'm leaving now on vacation.
Yeah.
And when I come back, I have Age of Mythology and Star Wars Outlaws and all that good stuff waiting for me that I really also want to play. Then, so it kind of didn't make sense. So I thought, okay, let's get it on PC, and then I can take it on my Ellie with me on vacation. However, apparently it really bends the knees of the Ellie. So, and I don't want to play it at 20 FPS or so. Wouldn't do the game justice. So I decided to hold off on Black Myth for now.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I'm interested in playing it, but I'm not really like super hyped for it, right? I'm super hyped for Star Wars Outlaws. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Huge Star Wars fan, and it's a beautiful Ubisoft open world game. I like Ubisoft open world games. That's a compliment when I say it, right? So I want to play that. Age of Mythology is coming out, and Visions of Mana is coming out by the time I'm back from vacation. So yeah, I'm just waiting now on that, and depending on when it comes to Xbox, I might get it in a sale or so.
Yeah, you see, for me, I was intrigued by it when I first saw it, and then I've seen more of it, and then the more I've seen of it, it just seems like it's meant to be an action adventure, but it seems like it's just boss heavy Souls type game.
Yeah.
When I keep seeing people talking about it as well, it seems like for the most part it's a relatively empty experience apart from these quite frequent boss fights.
Boss battles, yeah.
So I
Which
just don't feel like
I
it's.
would be fine with.
Yeah,
But
I just don't feel. I'm just not. There is no FOMO here from me on Black Myth
yeah,
at all.
I'm also not really in the Souls mood right now.
Nah. Nah.
I have a lot of stuff going on at work right now, and also a couple of things in my private family life.
Yeah.
And I kind of need gaming to relax me right now
Yeah.
and not stress me out. And that's what I like. I liked Elden Ring and games like that, but those are not games I can play anytime. I can do that with The Witcher. That's for me a relaxing experience. I can dive into the world. I have a great lore and so on. And with those Souls-like games, you don't get story. I know there is story in Elden Ring, but come on, that's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't play a Souls game anytime. I have to be in the mood.
Yeah.
And I'm just not in the mood right now.
Same with me for when there's like a nice horror game like Alan Wake. We spoke about this when Alan Wake come out. I was like, no, I've got to be in the mood. That's not a game you can relax to. It's stressful.
Yeah, exactly. It's stressful. And right now I need gaming to be relaxing. Playing a lot of Diablo 4. It's just turn the brain off, having fun looting and building out my character. That's kind of relaxing to me. And I wouldn't have that experience right now with Black Myth. So I'm totally fine with holding off for now, and then maybe I get it in a Steam sale or so.
Yeah.
A little later.
Yeah.
All right, Dutch. Let's come back to opening night live.
Yeah.
We have then after Black Myth, they showed shown a couple of smaller titles: King of Meat, All Linked, the Don't Not game, Life is Strange game. No More Room in Hell 2 was shown, and then they've shown one game that I kind of wanted to talk to you about. I didn't have it on my radar. I know it was announced before, and I've seen it before, but I kind of didn't think about it anymore. And that was Ark Raiders.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this survival shooter game, and I thought it looked fantastic. What did you think, man?
Yeah. It's the second time it's been announced, actually.
Yeah.
It's been a while since they showed this off, but no, it looks good. It looks good. We'll have to see what it shapes up to be when it launches. But from what I saw in the trailer, it looked quite interesting.
Yeah, it did. It looked. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted with the chat. I wanted to answer the winter shoulder, real quick. Yeah, it is. It does look like a lot of fun. I did really not have it on my radar, but I like these kind of third-person shooter kind of games that focus on loot, and that if you sprinkle in some survival elements, I'm all for it. So that was actually, even though it wasn't the first time it was announced to me, it was a kind of a surprise because I absolutely did not have it on my radar. But I will definitely follow that game. It's going to come out next year, also a 25 game.
Yeah.
Again, 25 is going to be nuts.
Yeah, half of these games aren't games that I will get in Gamepass as well. I need to buy them all. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be
it's going to be
year.
an expensive year. Oh yeah. So, Space Marine was shown, Predecessor, a MOBA game was shown, and then something for me as a Diablo fan, Path of Exile 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going into early access in November.
Yeah.
I'm probably not doing early access. I'm waiting for the full release, though.
Okay. We'll see how your mind changes before that.
Yeah, depends on how busy we are in November. And from all the stuff we know now, November, we are going to be pretty busy. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of over early access.
Yeah.
The last game I did in early access was No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm done being a paying beta tester. I don't want to pay to be a beta tester.
Yeah.
And No Rest for the Wicked, don't get me wrong, I think this is going to be a good experience once it's finally coming out. But you had like 10 hours or so of story content, basically Act 1. And then you were done. And now it's out for, I want to say, 4 months or so now. And they still haven't added anything in terms of like story content. They've added other stuff to the game. Yeah, you can now build your own house in the city, and you have this. They had this kind of end game thing, a crucible, which is basically an endless horde mode. You know, wave after wave after wave until you die. And they've improved that a lot and added stuff to that. But it's still only Act 1. And I kind of still paid more or less full price. Not really full price, but close to it. And I just don't want to do it anymore. I thought about getting Hades 2 in early access, but no, I'm not doing early access anymore. I don't let us know in the chat what you guys think about early access, because we're gonna get back to early access once we talk about Xbox and Towerborn.
Yep.
I've got plenty to say on that, but yeah, I'm just waiting till the full release of Path of Exile 2. However, the game itself looks awesome. You know, I do love Diablo, obviously, and Diablo is king, but this is the next best thing. Path of Exile, you know, it is a little. It is also grindy like Diablo, yes, but you kind of move on more often, you know, to grind to the next area and to the next area, and it kind of is a different sense of progression that you have through a Path of Exile game. And this one is just looking so damn good. Dustin Lambert in the chat says early access is a scam. Yeah, honestly, it kind of feels to me that way as well. So yeah. Anything you want to add to Path of Exile? You interested in it?
I mean, it looks cool, but I'm more of a Diablo fan anyway. And if I've got a Diablo, chances are I'm not going to be diving into another game that's very similar to Diablo when I prefer Diablo over Path of Exile.
Hmm.
So it looks cool, but it's not one I'm going to be jumping into.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. The Winter Shoulder says early access is cool if it's on Game Pass. Yeah, that definitely helps, because then you're at least not paying for it. I don't have an issue with early access per se, but it should be free then. If you want my feedback and find all the bugs for you and play through the game in a non-finished state, I shouldn't be paying for it. It's just my thoughts. Pyro in the chat says, I'm on the fence with early access games. I might try Xbox game preview trials, or if they add it to Game Pass, but I quickly dropped them and refused to pay for early access. Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, if you kind of have to pay for it, not for me. Dune Awakening got a first gameplay showing. And it's an MMO, right? I kind of don't have the time anymore for MMOs. I used to be a big MMO player. Played early in the days, WoW, of course. Played Elder Scrolls Online, shitloads of it. But ever since I became a father, that's the one thing I had to sacrifice, right? My love of MMOs.
Yeah.
Dune Awakening to me looked really good in the trailers that they've shown before, and this was the first gameplay reveal, and honestly, I didn't feel it. I thought the animations looked super clunky, like honestly, like 360 days quality level. Very little details in the world, uninspired shooting mechanics. I didn't really like what I've seen. I wonder if people felt different. Let us know in the chat, of course. But Dutch, what did you think of Dune Awakening gameplay?
You see, I had a problem with it as soon as they announced it was an MMO. Because I think MMOs are, for the most part, relatively uninspired. Yes, there's some great MMOs out there, but only the big survive. And do I think Dune's going to survive? No. No, I don't. If you have a look at the big successful MMOs, you've got your Elder Scrolls, you've got your Final Fantasy XIV, you've got World of Warcraft. They're your big, real staple MMOs. Fallout 76 is doing okay. It's not like the biggest, but it's doing okay.
Yeah, it's doing okay.
But those are the ones that are staples now. They're the ones that people live on. And
yeah,
from what I saw from Dune as an MMO, you build a craft, you do missions, you go back to the city, you join a faction, you do more missions, you run spice missions, you have wars in the middle of a desert and then call a worm in. Okay. Yeah, but then what? Like, Dune would have been far more suited to be an epic single player adventure.
Oh yeah.
Than it would have been an
maybe
MMO.
A co-op experience, you know.
Yeah.
I could have seen that being like I'm blanking on the name. What was that third-person shooter that came out 2 years ago? Was a day one Game Pass release? Outriders.
Yes. Yeah.
Could have been something like that. Yeah, co-op with campaign. Just enjoy the game and be done with it. Could have been fine for that. But
especially
an MMO
you've got to think the success of the films, Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
How big those were. And if you had an actual a proper story campaign, single or co-op campaign game, that would have been, personally to me, that is significantly better suited to an epic movie than an MMO. I don't think an MMO really does the franchise justice, and nor do I think it'll take off. I think the people that love Dune as well, that'll end up jumping on this game, will despise it, because it isn't. I don't think it'll be anything like what they imagined it would be.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Honestly, the problem is, an MMO is a huge time investment, right? And time, honestly, is the most valuable thing you can ask from people these days, right? And MMOs do struggle anyway because of all the games as service titles as well.
Yeah.
You know, your Fortnites and Warzones and whatnot. And people only have so much time. And it is the question, where do you invest your time in? If you want to, an MMO, usually you have to at least spend 100 hours or so in it before it gets good.
Yeah.
and until you understand all the mechanics and you have your and for people to ask for that kind of investment and then continue to play it and spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in it, you really have to be good.
Yeah.
It is a mediocre MMO doesn't stand a chance. A mediocre single player game can find its success because
Yeah.
people buy it, they play it, they might enjoy it and be done with it after 15, 20 hours or whatnot.
Yeah.
And think, okay, I got my money's worth, I move on, good. You don't do that with an MMO.
Nope.
If you're not convinced, man, this is gonna rock my world, you're not gonna invest that time into it.
And you don't
let
like,
alone
even the
money.
funny thing is I tried Final Fantasy 14. Massive Final Fantasy fan. I thought, right, I'll give 14 a shot. I'll see if I like it.
Yeah.
And I was playing it, it's okay. But then I seen comments from people that were playing it, and they're like, yeah, I mean, it really starts getting good when you play like, at about 60 hours. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.
Off it goes. I'm not waiting 60 hours for the game to start getting good.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then you have all these free-to-play games that you are competing against. Those games as a service titles. And let's be real, most players do have that guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, obviously, that game is and was for a long time, for instance, H4. Not a classic games as a service title, but my guilty pleasure, where I spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in it. And I might do the same with Age of Mythology again. But I only have room for one of those games. I play my single player games on the side and have one of those games. And I know most people are that way. There's always the exception that proves the rule, but most people have that one game. Let it, for the sake of argument, be Fortnite. And you do your weekly quests and stuff, and then you play something on the side, obviously, but you're not gonna put up another game that is such a huge time investment, and that's what MMOs are fighting against. So
Yeah.
for you to be successful, we had a similar conversation when we talked about games as a service.
Yeah,
games.
it's absolutely. When you've got one of your, everyone has their one or two multiplayer games that they will always go back to.
Exactly.
And unless you do something drastic that is going to grab you away from that, you're never going to have that person be on your game permanently.
Yeah.
And you need, with a games as a service game or an MMO game, that's what you need. You need people that are playing your game all of the time and make it up, pretty much make it their life. That's what MMOs are. They make their game their life.
And I just don't see that with Dune happening. So, yeah. Dutch, let us talk about another game. I thought of you, man. The makers of Little Nightmare 1 and 2 are bringing out a new game called Reanimal.
You know, they've actually
And it
changed
just
it, and
looks-
it's now called Little Nightmares 3.
No,
No,
that came
it's
a little
advertised
later.
on everything as Little Nightmares 3.
Wait, but a little later in the show, they've shown an actual trailer for Little Nightmare 3, developed by a different studio.
That's weird.
You're sure, man?
Yeah, they showed the same trailer and said Little Nightmares 3, and then showed the same trailer for Reanimal as they did Little Nightmares 3. I was like, is it the same thing?
Really? Because it was a different trailer, though. So I'm confused now.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, but even though
Weird.
it still looks good, and I thought of Pat, because Pat loved both of the Little Nightmare games. And as soon as that was shown, I was like, there you go, Pat. There's your new game. You're going to love it. So,
Sweet.
yeah, honestly, those games were really cool. Very creepy. Nerve-wracking games. I was sneaking about all the time and running away from things, but no, it looked great. I'm glad they're making another one.
Pyro in the chat asks, since we are on the subject of Gamescom opening night live and Genshin finally coming to Xbox 5-6 years, how long do you think it'll be for Honkai SR and Zenless Zone Zero to get a port?
Another 4 or 5 years.
I don't think those are ever going to come. But since we are on the subject, Genshin Impact was actually announced after Reanimo. Now coming to Game Pass November 20th.
Yeah.
I'll give my thoughts in a second. What are yours?
It's not for me. This is not a game for me. No, I don't. None of these games are for me. I'm glad the people that want them are getting them, but these are not games for me. Not even in the slightest.
Yeah. I'm in a very similar boat. I mean, Genshin Impact is one of the biggest games out there, period. It's massive. It is super successful. It took Microsoft years to bring it to Xbox. So I know that a lot of people are excited about it. I'm happy for them that they can finally play it on Xbox. It will support cross progression. So if you have started the game already, you can take over your bring over your characters and stuff. All good, just a little late if you ask me.
Just a little late, but for Xbox players that haven't played it and were waiting for it, I'm glad they're getting to play it now.
Absolutely. Monster Hunter Wilds was shown, and it is apparently the game with the longest waiting queue lines at Gamescom. Up to 8 hours it takes you to wait, stand in line to play 10-15 minutes of the game.
That sounds about right.
So the hype is real. The question is, where's your hype?
Doesn't exist.
Really?
Yep.
You're not a Monster Hunter guy.
I've tried them so many times. I bought Monster Hunter World. I've got the Iceborne DLC. I've got it all, and I've tried it significant amount of times. I even tried the newer one that came over to Xbox not too long ago, and it's just too clunky and too slow. I just don't get along with it.
You're playing the wrong class, man.
No, it's just too, and I'm sorry to say this, but graphically it's like a 360 / beginning of Xbox One gen title. It really isn't doing anything.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And when I'm like, especially when it's like a brand new game and you turn it on for the first time, you're like, this just looks like a remastered 360 game.
It does. Amish AI in the chat says it was also running in 30 FPS. Absolutely. From a technical standpoint, it is 2 generations behind.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But no, I've never really got into it. To be fair, I've never really got in, and I've tried. Like I say, I've purchased Monster Hunter World because of everybody's hype. Like I have done multiple occasions with games. Okay, everybody's hyping it, so I'm gonna give it a chance, and I've just not got along with it.
See, I do like the Monster Hunter games. My problem with Monster Hunter World was I didn't get it at launch.
Yeah.
I can't really remember. There was something else, There's always something else to play, right? And another different shiny game came out, and I didn't buy it at launch, and I bought it, I want to say 3-4 months or so after it came out, and all my friends have already moved on.
Yeah.
And I had nobody to play with.
It was just, for me, it was just a fetch quest game. It is.
It is. It is. Go fetch, do a fetch quest, go out, hunt a monster, bring back the resources, level up your gear, craft something new, cook a good meal to get your buffs right, and then go on to the next Monster Hunter mission. That's what the gameplay loop is.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. I do enjoy that, but it's a game you kind of have to play with friends in co-op. And I somehow missed that window where everybody is playing it. So depending on when Monster Hunter Wild comes out, if I buy it day one, and if not, I will not buy it this time.
I don't think you're going to buy it.
It depends, man. It depends on
It's probably
how
going to
busy
release
I
like the
am.
same week as Fable or something stupid.
Yeah, but then you know the answer.
Yeah.
So that's where I am standing with that. Mythic in the chat asks if we have talked about the main topic indie on PlayStation. No, we have not yet. We're going to get there. We just want to discuss the opening night live and some of the games we've seen first. But of course, we'll get to that. Civilization 7 has been shown off.
Yep. That looks cool.
Yeah, it does. It does. Shattered Space was announced. Oh, well, the release date was announced.
Yeah.
September 30th.
Yeah.
And
count me in.
Actually, me too, man. I'm super excited. Did you watch the Xbox stream yesterday where they had a little more to say on Shattered Space? It's going, obviously story is going to be around House Varun, and it's going more into like the horror elements that you also had in the what was the quest line called?
It was like that alien quest line on the first.
Yeah, that alien quest line. Yeah.
Which was to me the best mission in the game, by the way.
Absolutely,
without a doubt. And I wished that section was significantly longer.
And that's what you're getting with Shattered Space. It's going to be a massive expansion. And I'm also glad because I thought in all of the main story and the main quest lines of Starfield, the one thing that they didn't utilize properly was, anti-gravity gameplay. You had those side missions that you encountered randomly where you had to enter a ship and fight with zero gravity.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome. It was just so good because that's something, you can only do in a sci-fi game.
Yeah.
You can, walking around and shooting stuff, you can do that in Fallout. You can do that basically in an Elder Scrolls game or whatnot. But you can only do zero gravity stuff in a sci-fi game. And it was so much fun, and it looks like in Shattered Space they are going to have more missions like that, which is absolutely cool. What do you say about the release date, man?
Good. I've already got it. I mean, I bought it when Starfield come out, so I've already got it. I'm ready.
Me too.
So no, end of September is really good for me. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I would have preferred, I'm not sure. I mean, the question is, what would have been a good time? Now would have been a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, before all the September madness comes out. But September is going to be a staffed month. You have October is full with Dragon Age being October 5th or so. So basically a week after Shattered Space. You're gonna have Dragon Age and then Call of Duty and all the other good stuff. But that's the thing. You kind of have to squeeze it in somewhere. And I'm definitely gonna make time in my gaming schedule for Shattered Space. So I'm good with that. So then they've shown. They actually had basically what I call the Xbox segment, right? They had Age of Mythology, just looks so damn good.
Yes, it does.
Cannot wait.
You're on holiday for that?
I'm on holiday, yeah. But after that, you know what it's going to be.
I'm going to send you clips of that when you're away.
Yeah. Actually, I have a big thing coming up on September 23rd and 24th at work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to prepare a lot of stuff for that. And I'm thinking about holding off on Age of Mythology because I'm gonna spend an unhealthy amount of time, and I'm afraid that I'll stay up all night, till 3 a.m. to play Age,
Yeah.
and then just I will not be able to meet the expectations for that work deadline. So I'm thinking about playing that after that, because I'm so afraid of getting hooked on Age. Towerborn was officially delayed to 2025,
Yep.
and it's getting basically a Steam early access release on September 10th now. I know you have many thoughts. Would you like to hear mine first, or would you like to go first?
I'll let you go first. Yeah.
All right. What is up with that? I really don't understand it. That game has been promoted as an Xbox game. It has been supported by Xbox Game Studio Publishing. We spoke to the studio director last year at Gamescom after we all played it. It was already playable last year at Gamescom. We spoke to the director, and he confirmed Xbox is super supportive and whatnot. And now it's basically a Steam exclusive. I really don't get that. I also don't understand. The game has had 2 betas on Xbox. And it was not like, okay, it's like Act 1 or so. It was basically the full game that was in beta. Playable. Actually very well playable on Xbox. You've been in both of those betas. I only been part of one of those betas. But it is the full game, playable on Xbox, and now it's an early access game on Steam, a Steam exclusive for the rest of the year until it comes out somewhere next year for the console. And I just don't get it. They could have used that build as well. If they don't feel like launching it, I know Stoic is a small studio. There's only so much effort that they can put in. And if they feel the game needs an early access, okay. But then put it on Xbox, because you have a fully playable build on the console and in the Xbox ecosystem. And making it now a Steam, de facto Steam exclusive for half a year or so, I just don't understand it. And it just shows you how little Xbox cares. It's just weird to me. So I don't know how you feel about it, man.
Yeah, like you say, I've played both of the betas for this game. I've played a significant amount of them as well. I've got loads of recorded footage of that. Naturally, I can't share it with anybody apart from people behind the scenes, because it is a fully playable 2-3 hours worth of gameplay footage from me playing that game. Runs fine. It was pretty much everything the game had to offer in there. They were adding more and more to it whilst it was in closed beta. It's published by Xbox.
Yeah.
It is... It baffles me. I do not understand. And then people trying to come out and defend this move is also obscene, in my opinion. The developers coming out and saying, yeah, but we needed a smaller player base to do our beta, like our early access testing. Steam is not smaller. Steam has 132 million active users and 70 million daily active users. Steam is not a smaller user base than Xbox. Steam is as big as, if not bigger, than Xbox.
It is
significantly bigger than Xbox's user base. So to say they needed a smaller pool of players is factually incorrect. Steam is larger, significantly larger. Then they're saying, okay, well, it's only for Founders Editions. Okay, well, if that's the case, why not do the Founder Edition on Xbox preview and allow those people who want to play the game early and provide financial support to you to get the Founders Edition on Xbox and play the game early from September 10th and help you build that. But what I would also like to say to the team as well, throughout the whole beta period, it's all well and good having a Discord where you can provide feedback. But if there's no areas on that Discord in which you can provide feedback, then how can we provide feedback? All of the segments in Discord for Towerborn are locked. You cannot comment. You cannot leave any feedback. You cannot say anything. So you're not going to get any feedback, even from the beta, or any of the betas, unless you unlock the Discord and allow people to give you feedback. That being said, they should, if you want to do an early test, then with Xbox being the main platform that is supporting you and funding you, release it as a Founders Edition on both Xbox and Steam, and do it that way. But only having the Founders Edition on Xbox and saying, oh, Microsoft fully support. Of course, Microsoft fully support it, because they don't give a flying fuck where that game releases. They don't care where any game releases now. They don't, which is why they support that decision. If they're publishing that game, they should have said, she should have full well known, wait a minute, this is an Xbox game, we funded this, we're publishing this, realistically we need to give the Xbox platform holders the first keys to this game, not Steam users. It's an Xbox game, so put it early access on Xbox. Whether that, even if that is a paid version Founders Edition, I don't care. Let people who have supported this game and beta tested this game play the game on the platform that they beta tested that game on. Instead of saying, thanks for beta testing this game, you're going to have to wait until 2025 while we bring brand new people in on Steam that have never played the game to give us feedback.
Exactly.
What's that doing for your core fan base? For the core Xbox users that have supported this game, they're now being fucked off for Steam users.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand Stoic is a small studio. They don't have the teams to support like all platforms at the same time in early access and so on. All these arguments that I've seen online, people defending this. Yeah. I get it. It's a small studio. We actually talked to the guy. There are 5 people working there. Yeah. Fully. They have, of course, some outsourced stuff, but the studio itself, super small. I get it. But Xbox has been supporting them. They've been funding the game. And now it's not on their platform.
Yep.
And Xbox is okay with that. Obviously. So that's what I don't understand. And there is a fully playable build of
I've still got it
that
installed.
game on Xbox.
Still got it installed.
Well, I have uninstalled it because they closed it down. But yeah, we both played it. It's the full game, the full build on Xbox. So yeah, it's beyond me. But it just shows how little Xbox really cares to have games on their platform.
Like I say, yeah, you might get a little bit of kickback from people saying, I thought this was going into Game Pass. It is when it launches, but at the same time, not only is it going into Game Pass, but they've announced it's a free-to-play game when it officially launches, so it makes no difference if it's in Game Pass or not. It's free-to-play.
Correct.
So then put it into a Founders Edition.
And it also actually has me worried a little bit, because what's the monetization model then going to be?
It'll be
because
gems.
The game we've played.
When it was in the beta aspect, you could see there was a store there, but the store wasn't populated with anything, so it's going to be gems or things like that. To level up your gear or get new armor or new equipment and things, so it's bound to be that. The core of the gameplay was absolutely fine. It was great. Buttery smooth, there was no issues, no bugs, no problems. The only things is when it steadily progressed, there was sections that didn't have text because they hadn't filled that yet. And then it went.
I think we are entering here now territory NDA.
Yeah, but even all I'm saying is the bits that weren't there that are there now. The further it progressed in the beta, then they added text to it. So then it progressed, and it again, but throughout the beta period, all of it, no matter what level it was in, was all buttery smooth and played really well.
Yeah.
And the further it got, they added more to it and added more to it, and then added another boss to it as just before the beta closed.
Yeah.
But it was, like you said, a fully playable build, and you could just keep expanding and keep expanding. If you wanted to play more, it opened up the area even more.
And I want to share Amish AI's concern here in the chat. Free to play, pay to win. That's exactly my concern now. Are they going to go over to a pay to win model? What's the monetization gonna be like?
Yeah,
We have no idea.
I mean it's not player versus player though. So would it be? Would you class that as play to win?
Yeah, if you kind of, we don't know what it's gonna be like.
It
But if
depends
you have
because
to pay,
it's
for crafting, or if you have to pay for,
it's hard to talk about bits in the game and what could or couldn't be without potentially breaching NDAs.
yeah,
But like the model of the way things worked, I would imagine it would just be here's something, you still have to level it up. Here's some armor, you still have to level it up. I think it's
still
more.
be pay to win.
I think it could be mainly just cosmetic-y.
If it's
fancy
anything
armor
else
stuff.
besides cosmetics, it's basically pay to win.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, let's see where this is going with Towerborn. I'm still surprised.
This is nothing against the Towerborn team because it's not their problem to put it there, and I have no ill malice towards the Towerborn team because they're just creating the game.
Sure.
They've made their decision, but Xbox, as the publisher, should have kicked back and said, "We understand. However, we can't let the Xbox users take a back seat to Steam users.
Absolutely.
We can't. So we're going to put it on Xbox in early access with a Founders Edition alongside Steam's Founders Edition. And those who want to pay to play the game early in early access can do so. Everybody else can wait till 2025 when the game fully releases if they want to wait.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the fact that Xbox didn't step in and say that again, for me, shows that Xbox do not have the core Xbox players in mind.
Absolutely. I agree. All right, Dutch. Let us move on to another game. Peter Molyneux was on stage.
God, yeah.
Masters of Albion. It's set in the Fable universe.
It
is.
You can't
I don't really. What is it? What is that game? It is
the God game.
It's a God game.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a strategy game. You can switch to third person mode. It has an open world to it, but at the same time, you can always go to God mode. I thought that was a real surprise. I didn't see that coming. He was on stage, in his weird kind of personality that he is, super creative guy. He was like, yeah, I was in mobile and I was asking myself, what the hell am I doing there?
Yeah.
And he wanted to come back to PC and consoles. And it's interesting that it is set actually in Albion and in the Fable lore, right? I wonder how that goes with copyrights.
The funny thing is, there was another interview with him that asked him about that.
Yeah.
They was like, well, I don't think Albion's thing. And they're like, are you sure? He's like, well, I don't think it is. I'm like, I mean, if you're saying it's in the Fable universe, you don't have the rights to the Fable universe. It kind of might be.
But then he answered, Albion cannot be copyrighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Then anyone can make an Albion game or what? I don't. Yeah, I'm sure he has thought that through.
You hope so.
You would hope so. Anyway, the game really didn't convince me, but I thought it was kind of a funny thing to see.
You know what was funny though? Was bringing back the good old Peter Molyneux, like talking as if his game is the next big thing, as if we're going to like you mentioned with Fable and the growing of the trees and
Yeah.
Yes, Peter, I love your grandiose idea that never come to fruition.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. But granted, the guy did make the Fable trilogy, and it was a fantastic trilogy.
It
I
was.
love the Fable games.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It's not the next big thing. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Okay, then they had a Blizzard segment. They talked, of course, about World of Warcraft and the expansion that is going to come out tonight.
Yep.
Somewhen. They also talked a little bit about, we're getting a new skin for Overwatch. Woo, big announcement. But then the good stuff, Vessel of Hatred was shown.
Yes.
Coming October 8th. Man, now we get Shattered Space on September 30th. We get a week later Dragon Age, and we get
Dragon Age is October 31st.
Oh.
Yeah. You've got a bit more time.
Right, that was... Oh, that's good. Right. Oh, okay, good. That makes it easier. But still, October 8th, Vessel of Hatred time. It's not included in Game Pass, but if you decide to purchase it now, you get 1 month free of Game Pass Ultimate that you can stack to your... So it's basically a super cheap DLC, $30. 1 month of Game Pass makes 13 euros for Vessel of Hatred. And besides that, they've shown that they will add mercenaries. Yeah. I wonder if they will work similar to how they worked in 2 and 3. They didn't really say that because I wasn't the biggest fan of mercenaries in Diablo 2 and 3. But I'm intrigued to see if they add something to them. And what I really enjoyed was that they introduced a Dark Citadel, which is basically a raid.
Yeah.
I did watch the Xbox stream that they've aired yesterday, where they had a very in-depth look into Vessel of Hatred. And basically what the Dark Citadel is a raid, right? You can co-op that, kind of have to co-op that. It's going to be super tough to do solo. It's this long mission with riddles and stuff in it. And, well, I wouldn't call it riddles, but, where you have to kind of figure out certain mechanics and how to progress through that raid. So it's basically a raid, and I really do love that. They've also shown the new biomes that will add even more diversity to them, to the game. And I can't wait for the new class, man, to check that out. So Vessel of Hatred, super excited. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, that's when I'll be jumping back into Diablo. Not before. That's when I'll jump back in.
I'll hold you to your word.
Yeah.
We're gonna co-op there, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna co-op hard.
Yep. I'll be jumping in back then.
Sweet. Good stuff. All right. Then they had another trailer for Berserker of Kazan, which looks just good.
Yep. Looks good.
Looks good. And then, Dutch, they had that Indiana Jones announcement. We will hold on just 1 second because it wasn't really the last game, but I want to, because we're going to stay on the indie topic for probably a bit. And that's why before we dive into that discussion, the last game of the show was a teaser, an announcement for Mafia: The Old Country.
Yes.
Going back to Italy.
Yep.
A complete new Mafia game
Yep.
to Sicily, exactly. So super happy to hear that. They've said we're going back to this narrative-driven approach, not the semi-open world kind of thing that they had in Mafia 3. They're going back to the roots, like it was in Mafia 1. And again, everyone who hasn't played the Mafia remake, it's in Game Pass now, highly recommended. So basically, linear game, story-driven, all the good stuff that you want from a Mafia game. They're going back in time to the roots of the mob. You know, I can't wait, man. I was really happy about that.
Yeah, looks fantastic. I'm gonna be trying it as well. I'll probably be getting it. It's something a little bit more special about a Mafia game based in kind of the old country, the Italian side of things, back over in Sicily, as opposed to being in New York and having a branch of the Mafia there. Yeah, it's something a little bit more special out being in their own territory and playing an Italian Mafia game in Italy. I think that'll be a little bit, especially if it's done well, that'll be a really good game.
Yeah, absolutely. And a surprise, I did not see that coming.
Yes.
So before we talk about the indie showcase, as a whole, Keighley is Keighley, right? And they had the typical Gamescom fluff in there, like, you know, the environmental award and stuff like that. These moderation things are just awkward, but overall, there was plenty of good stuff, good games in there, right? So I thought it was actually an okay good show. But then, Dutch, one discussion overshadowed the entire thing, and that was the Indiana Jones trailer. Don't get me wrong, Indy looks great, fantastic actually. Machine Games seems to do a really good job, and I am super hyped for the game.
Yep.
We didn't know the release date. At the end of the show, at the end of the trailer, it was basically the end of the show. There was only Mafia after that. Jeff Keighley stood on stage, said, okay, it's going to come out December 9th. And there's one more thing. It's also coming to PlayStation in spring. So basically confirming all the rumors because the rumors have been out there for 2 weeks or so now that Indie is going to make its way to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So it really didn't come as a big surprise. What actually surprised me is that they really announced that on the big stage. The messaging is just beyond awful.
Yeah.
With that. So there's so much to discuss here, and I know it's been the topic on the social media channels all day, all week now, and Xbox is having, it's kind of the sad thing because Xbox is having actually a good moment right now, right? They are the only one of the platform holders that actually bothered to show up to Gamescom. They have a gigantic booth there. They have the live streams.
They have a significant portfolio of games announced already.
Exactly, yeah. So the rest of the year looks great. We get a bunch of great DLC with Vessel of Hatred and Shattered Space. We get Age of Mythology, right? Which looks fantastic. Then we have Indie as the big new game. They have Call of Duty in Game Pass, which we already talked about. They didn't even bother to mention that it's going to come to Game Pass, but still. So actually, the rest of the year looks good for them. And yet they found a way to shoot themselves in the foot. And the entire discussion and the excitement of Gamescom is kind of overshadowed by this decision to bring Indiana Jones to PlayStation. And it would have also been a very different thing if they would have waited another week and then announced it on a blog post or so. But to stand there on the big stage and let Jeff, of all the people, Jeff Keighley announce that this Xbox exclusive is not exclusive anymore. It's coming to PlayStation with his typical Keighley smirk in his face. It was just an goddamn awful messaging. So there's plenty already to talk about on that. In addition to that, Dutch, Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond, they had an interview in yesterday's stream, and Phil gave some context on that decision. I want to quote from that interview. Yesterday in the official Xbox stream, Phil Spencer said this: "What I see when I look is that our franchises are getting stronger. Our Xbox console players this year are as high as they've ever been. So I look at it and say our player numbers are going up for the console platform. Our franchises are as strong as they've ever been, and we run a business. It's definitely true inside of Microsoft that the bar is high for us in terms of the delivery that we have to give back to the company, because we get a level of support from the company that is just amazing in terms of what we are able to go do. So I look at this, how can we make our games as strong as possible? And our platform continues to grow both on console, PC, and cloud, and I think it's just going to be a strategy that works for us." He had to say something else. We'll get to that in a second, but basically, they are on the big stage announcing that indie is only for a few months an Xbox exclusive. Spring, it comes to PlayStation. Then Phil going out saying, well, our console player base is strong, trying to reassure everyone, hey, consoles are fine. Consoles are all good for us. But hey, we got so much money from Microsoft for ABK. We kind of have to make the money back now, and that's the way we choose to do it. And so these are the facts. Now, I want to hear your opinion before I give mine.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this?
You know what it is? The going to other platforms thing, I'm not really too bothered about, especially for indie. And the reason I say that for indie is because it's an old man game. Right, let's face it. It's an old man game. It's for a particular audience that have grown up with Indiana Jones, that love Indiana Jones, our age kind of people. Like any of the new age that have seen the recent Indiana Jones haven't seen the best one. The best Indiana Jones movies were the originals. The Raiders of the Lost Ark and things like that, okay? But so the game going elsewhere isn't the issue. And again, you have to think about, for me, the main issue they've got here is you don't announce it going to another platform before it's had a chance to release on your own platform. Even if it did release in spring next year, your opportunity to bring people onto your platform to play indie before Christmas, and potentially even buy an Xbox to play indie before Christmas, was that release date on December 9th. People could have went out, and I know people that would have went out and bought an Xbox to play indie before that period. Now you've told all those people that have a PlayStation that wouldn't have picked the game up, that would have picked the game up on Xbox and even potentially bought an Xbox before Christmas to play indie. Oh, you don't need to anymore.
True.
You don't need to spend another several £100 to buy this just for this game. Now you can just wait another 3 months and play it in spring. Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Potentially, on the better hardware, if the PS5 Pro is still going to come out this year.
Yeah. So all they've done is shoot themselves in the foot again. realistically, what they should have done, which wouldn't have affected them in the slightest, was tell you about the release date, say absolutely fuck all about the PlayStation release, and then the beginning of next year, release a blog post saying it's coming out on PlayStation 5 at the end of April. Who would that have hurt? Nobody.
No one.
No, nobody. It would have benefited them on the run up to Christmas, though, from a business perspective, because more people might have bought the console for Indiana Jones. They might have got it on
Or
Xbox.
subscribe
for
to
Indiana
Game
Jones.
Pass or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, why? Why would they? Why would they? Oh, it's coming out on my platform next year, right? Okay, I'll just pick it up there. Okay. Like, they don't care about driving Game Pass. We've seen that from Call of Duty. They don't care about bringing in new people. We've seen that now with the release date of Indie on PS5, even before the Xbox version's released. And they don't care about core users because they're releasing Towerborn on PC before they're releasing it on Xbox. So,
Yeah.
like, this shows me that they really do not, like, right now, they don't care about the core fan base that got them to where they are. And my main thing, I put a big post out on Twitter, and I don't think people kind of understood what the purpose of that was. But the reason my mind frame right now is in not investing in another Xbox next gen and just focusing on playing my Xbox games on PC and or a handheld if they release a native handheld. If it's just a PC handheld, then, like, i.e. it runs Steam and it runs, then no, I can just get any handheld for that. If it's a native Xbox handheld, I'll pick that up next gen. But as it stands right now, I have absolutely no reason to invest in another Xbox next year because Xbox have shown that the core users are not at the forefront of their attention and that PC players or PlayStation players are the ones that they're focusing on getting on board first. Not the Xbox players. Not the people that have bought into their ecosystem from day one. They're second to everything. And that's my main thing. That is my entire thing about this. It's like, I've got the 360 still sitting down there. I've got the Xbox OG still sitting there. I've got the Xbox Series S and the Series X sitting there. And still got the One X as well sitting downstairs. I've got everything you could possibly imagine. I've got 800 plus purchased games on my console. From 360 all the way through to Xbox One and the OG and the new ones. 800 plus games. So I've got a whole ecosystem worth there. If I want to play backwards compatible games, I'm not going to get a new gen to play backwards compatible games. I can just play the Xbox Series. I can play all my back compat there. That's not going anywhere. So why would I invest in more hardware when I can get when my PC can do what Xbox can do, and I will get to play all of the games on Game Pass day one. All of them. I can get to play Aura, which isn't coming out on console day one. Like, there's so many more games as well like that go on
You could
PC.
play Black Myth Wukong now.
Black Myth Wukong, I can play straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many games missing Xbox that aren't going on Xbox that people don't complain about. Like, I don't care what's going out from Xbox elsewhere. And neither do I to a point, but I also care about the opposite. The opposite is also true, that Xbox are also being intentionally missed by third parties because the platform isn't big enough anymore. And when your platform's no longer getting the attention of third parties, then what hope does the console have going forward of attracting more third parties to develop for it? It's took them, like you mentioned, it's took them 4 or 5 years to get Genshin Impact on the console.
Yeah.
It took them literally a decade to get Final Fantasy XIV on the console. And we still haven't got Final Fantasy VII Remake on the console. And you're thinking, going forward, this is going to change if the actual core console user is starting to grow slimmer and slimmer because they're not investing in the console user anymore. So,
True.
The health of... I also don't believe Phil Spencer's the Xbox things are as high as they've ever been. They're not. And you can say the reason you can say that is because they don't publish
kind of
fucking
depends
numbers.
on how you. Yeah, we don't have official numbers.
We don't have numbers to fact check against them, so we can say anything we
I
want
could-
about the Xbox numbers.
I could see that being true depending on how you count.
If you're counting last gen as well as
Because-
this gen, yes.
Exactly. Last gen and this gen, the cross-gen period has been significantly bigger than it's been in the past. 360 was just not supported a year after the Xbox One came out. Yeah, it's got its occasional UI updates, but that's about it. Most games after a year or so, when the Xbox One came out, only came out on the Xbox One. Now you still have the biggest games being cross-gen still 4 years into the gen, right? Your likes of your Fortnites and Warzones and stuff like that, all still being played on the last gen consoles, and
Yeah.
even games like Call of Duty, right? That's the thing. It depends on how you count. You can also count in the cloud users. I don't think that's a huge number though.
Yeah.
But technically, cloud users are still console
And their
users because
PC
the
users.
and then it gets blurry. Exactly. What about the PC users? I mean, he specifically said console players and separated them from. And would you count PlayStation players?
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves apparently sold more than 1 million already on PlayStation. Do you count those players in?
Yep.
Because technically they are console players too. He
Yeah.
didn't say Xbox consoles. That's why this whole the console what we know is that the series consoles are not selling as well as the Xbox One.
Nope.
We don't know the exact official numbers, but from all we've seen, the data and so on from the NPD and so on, they all suggest that the series consoles are lacking even behind the Xbox One. So technically what you have is you have the smallest Xbox install base that you've ever had with the series consoles. Yeah, not counting last gen consoles in that. Then and I have it's where do I start?
Yeah.
Since we are on this subject, I see all the time people defending this. It's not about console sales. It's not about. There are two things in my mind that are fundamentally wrong with that statement.
Yeah.
It is absolutely about console sales. For two reasons. The first is, it doesn't matter what product you have. Really doesn't matter. Whether you sell washing machines or, I don't know, any product you make, you want to sell. What is the point in making a product if you don't intend to sell it? It is not a business decision to spend $1 billion plus for development cost of a console and then not sell it. It is just not a wise idea. If you have a product, sales are good. And that goes for any product. The second is, yes, they make more money by selling software than by selling hardware. But the model of a console always has been selling software. I get that. And it is about software sales. However, the console is the entry into potential buyers, into people that buy the software. I can guarantee you that nobody is going to buy a game, is buying software if you don't own the console. So having a large install base is the fundamental thing of this entire business. So if you don't have an install base, you don't have potential buyers. That's also just a fact. So it is in my mind, it is not an argument to say it is not about hardware sales. It absolutely is. Yes, you can reach more people if that install base is bigger. So what did Xbox do to make the install base bigger? Because they were not able to sell enough consoles. They went to PC, big new install base. Now, PC and console, for the most part, are a different audience. Yes, there are people, especially us in this hardcore gaming bubble, that might consider, okay, I just leave my console and play on PC. But it is a choice of convenience. It's a choice of flexibility, why people either play on PC or on console. If you want an easy, convenient way to simply play games, console is the way to go.
Yeah.
And if you care enough to have the best visuals, the best frames, and so on, you go to PC. Yeah. But it's not like in the biggest kind of gaming audience that they can't coexist. It's similar to Nintendo. Nintendo is also kind of doing their own thing, and they kind of coexist to PC and Xbox and PlayStation because they have this unique space. And yeah, if you want to play the latest third-party games, you're gonna get either an Xbox, a PlayStation, or a PC because you can't play it on Nintendo. They have this own unique space, and it's similar with PC. It's just a different audience that you find with console players.
Yeah.
So now, that being said, Xbox wanted to grow their install base. Okay, they extended that to PC with a super lackluster effort, by the way, because
Yeah.
the Gamepass app and the PC store front is still shit. PC is owned by Steam. It absolutely is. And the biggest companies in the world and publishers have tried to get into that space. EA failed. Epic basically failed. They have not given up like EA, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
To do their own your own launcher. And it is sorry, I'm a little distracted because I have to switch the gameplay. I ran out of gameplay. So PC was the original way to go to extend the user base, and software is the beauty of software is that it is scalable. You don't have any manufacturing costs. Yeah, like with hardware. If you sell hardware, you have to set up an assembly line and everything. And in order to sell more products, you have to build a second assembly line, and you have to have logistics. And all of that is taken care with software. Software lives and breathes and is the most profitable business in the world because it is scalable. So I get that. You want to extend that. And then the question comes in, okay, that's why I really didn't have an issue with them going to PC. It offers people choice. It is, for the most part, a different audience. What they're doing now is they realize they failed in selling consoles. And this is another quote from Phil. And with that quote, I totally do disagree. He's always putting the industry is changing. The industry is changing.
Yeah.
The industry isn't changing.
Yeah.
Nintendo isn't doing that stuff. PlayStation isn't doing that stuff. Yes, PlayStation is also a business, and they go to PC. Yes, they do. And eventually, I've said this before, they will go day and date to PC because they realize two different audiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you will lose 1 million players on PlayStation that then decide, okay, we leave the console and go to PC. But out of the 100+ million, it's really not making a big difference. But the industry isn't changing in that way, like Phil likes to describe it. He puts an apparent industry change as in front of his argument as an excuse for his own failure to get a proper install base in the console business.
Yep.
I've said it before. There is no reason that they could reach a similar install base like a PlayStation or a Nintendo do. Both Nintendo and PlayStation have every gen 100 million plus sold units.
Yep.
Both of them. And there's no reason that Xbox couldn't get to that point. The Xbox console, I mean, yeah? There's absolutely no reason. It is their non-existing and absolutely shit marketing. It is the fact that they have not had any system sellers for more than a decade. It's always been Forza, Gears, and Halo for more than a decade. And that is the reason why you don't have a proper install base. It has nothing to do with the industry is changing. Yes, the industry is struggling right now. They are struggling. We see all these studio closures and so on. We see that everywhere. Every publisher is shutting down studios and they are struggling. But that is a different reason. It has nothing to do with install base because EA doesn't give a fuck about install base.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah? They are not a platform holder. Why is the industry struggling? The industry is struggling because money is getting more expensive right now. That is the problem. The problem is that when you invest into a video game, as an investor, you give a developer, let's say, just for the sake of argument, $1 million for the next 5 years to develop the next big game. If you take that $1 million and invest it, for instance, in the stock market, and you make every year, let's say, 10% of interest, yeah, you have like something like $1.6, $1.7 million after 5 years. So what you want to make sure as a game developer is to make the same return of investment. You don't have to give back the million. You have to give back the 1.7 million after 5 years. That is the problem. The money is getting more expensive because there are other ways to invest the money in. That is the problem of the gaming industry right now. Because development times go up so long, you have to make more profit to give a better return of investment. That is the problem.
Yep.
And after years of growth, and especially with COVID having for 2 years a very unhealthy growth of the industry, because everybody was staying at home and buying stuff, buying consoles, buying especially games, yeah, and just people want the same growth again.
Yep.
Now the industry actually is growing. If you look at the NPD numbers, they are growing in the same rate, the exact same rate like they did prior to COVID.
Yep.
Exactly the same. The industry is growing. It's just not growing as fast as during these COVID days. But that's what capitalism is. People want that kind of growth, not the other one. I get that. That's the market, that's the business. Yeah? But to say the industry is changing is factually not true. Because if the industry would change in that way, how Phil describes it, PlayStation and Nintendo would also do it. They are the only ones doing it. So not the industry is changing, Microsoft is changing.
Yep.
And are they changing now for the better? This is the big question here. It remains to be seen. Let me put it this way. I personally don't think it's gonna go well for consoles within Microsoft. Because I have no doubt that they are going to make one more gen. I have no doubt. They will see success with Indie. Indie is a perfect game for PlayStation. It is PlayStation is a brand that is owned by a lot of casuals. They know the name. It has this pop culture name. It looks good. It has all the things to be successful. Doom, also coming next year to PlayStation, day one actually, right? Gonna be a smash out hit. They're gonna sell more copies on or will find more players on PlayStation than they will on Xbox, even though it's an Xbox Game Pass day one title. So what is going to happen is exactly what you described, right? They're gonna bring out the next console, no doubt. But what's going to happen after that? Microsoft is a business-driven company. They didn't become the most valuable company in the world by just willy-nilly throwing out money. If the install base is going to decline further with next gen, how can Phil and the team justify that within Microsoft?
Yeah.
They are not going to. Satya's eventually going to pull the plug.
Well, this is the thing. Like, they don't understand. The actions that they're taking now aren't going to affect this generation. The actions that they're
people
doing
already
now.
have bought their consoles.
Yeah.
They have bought their consoles. We are 4 years into this gen.
Yeah.
We are 4 years into this gen. You have your install base, right? And now the question really is, what's going to happen next gen? Is Game Pass alone? Because that's the only difference now. If all those games come to PlayStation now, right? And there will be more. I would be surprised that if we wouldn't have a similar discussion anytime soon about, I don't know, a Starfield and a Hellblade and eventually with a Halo and a Forza. We will have the same discussion.
Yeah.
If they bring those kind of games to PlayStation, what's the only difference in between the Xbox console and the PlayStation console? It's Game Pass. Is Game Pass enough? Is Game Pass enough that people will invest into the ecosystem? There will be a few people like you do, that say, well, I'm just going to switch over to PC.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Of course, Xbox as a brand is going to be successful. They are now too big to fail. They are too big of a publisher to fail. With ABK and ZeniMax, Bethesda, and all the core Xbox studios, they are too big to fail. They will be successful as a publisher. But is the question is the console going to be still business-wise enough for them to invest into that console any further? What will happen with third-party publishers? You mentioned it. It's a big question. It's already an issue. Anybody saying it isn't an issue is just closing blindly their eyes, because if a game like Baldur's Gate, biggest game of the year last year, doesn't come to your platform day and date, if you lose out on one of the biggest games in the world with Genshin Impact for 5 years, and have now one of the biggest successes in this year, Black Myth Wukong, right? Not there. Obviously, there is already something. Your own developers or the games you funded, like Towerborn, is going now de facto a Steam exclusive. Is this a trend that will continue? Let me tell you one thing. We don't know. I don't know. I hope not. But with
more
a smaller
it keeps
install
happening.
base, with a smaller install base, it's not going to get better.
Yep.
That is the one thing I can say for sure. And the question really is Game Pass enough to sell the system on? Listen, I'm a console fan. Yeah, I have all the consoles. I have a Switch, I have a PlayStation, I have an Xbox. I tend to prefer to play my games on Xbox. That's my main platform. Usually the third-party games I'm getting on Xbox for different reasons. My friends are on there, I prefer the controller, and so on. There's just, so where do I buy my third-party games next? If I'm not convinced, I'm gonna buy the next Xbox. I'm still as long as I can, I'm going to hold off of PC. PC is just not for me. Yeah. Also, different conversation. We can have that somewhere, and it's probably also a good one. But so, what is going to happen? That I have no reason to believe that this strategy is going to help the console space. Is it going to help Microsoft to make more money short term?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
it will.
Again, software is scalable.
Yep.
Yeah. Just release it on PlayStation and bam. Yeah. Make a shitload of money.
Yep.
Sea of Thieves sold 1 million copies at $40, right? So taking development cost out and the cut they have to give to Sony, they made another 30 million net. Bam. Of course. But a long-term growth is, yes, invest properly in PC. Invest in that.
Yep.
Yeah. Invest in your console. Start a marketing department. Aaron Greenberg isn't a marketing department. That's one guy.
Yep.
That is running around at Gamescom and
actually
so on.
give them a budget. Don't get. We've
Give
heard
them a
from the
budget.
marketing guys
That's what I mean.
themselves that
Yeah?
they're significantly underfunded.
Exactly. Let people know about the good product you have, about the good games that are coming, about what Game Pass actually is. And you will start growing, and you will start growing in a healthy way where you can say, okay, this is where we can find our success. I'm not against per se we need to bring our games to more than just the Xbox consoles. I'm not against that. Again, I fully believe that PC and console are two different markets that can coexist. Absolutely. But in the console space, we need competition. Sony is by far here in Europe the absolute market leader. And worldwide, they sell almost double the consoles than they do than Xbox does. Again, Nintendo is living kind of in their own space, right? There's no, it's just different.
Yeah.
That's why Nintendo is really not that kind of competition that we need. But what Microsoft is basically doing, they let Sony have the console space for mature games, for third-party games. There's no chance you can play a Dragon Age, for instance, one of the most anticipated games of this year, right? A Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed on the Switch. You can't. If you want to play those kind of games, you have to get something else than the Switch. That's why it's a different market. And what it feels to me like is that Microsoft is leaving that space now to Sony.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. And every PlayStation fan should also not want that, because competition is key.
Yep.
You get the competition not through third-party games, because PlayStation and Xbox are basically the same console. Hardware-wise, we've seen that the games, they all look and run the same. Yes, in this game you have a pixel more here, and in this game you have a frame more there, but it's the same hardware. It's the exact same hardware. Yeah, and you can talk about controller preferences and stuff, but at the end, Xbox and PlayStation are the same. The differentiator is the software that you get. Unique games. This is the whole thing what Nintendo built, and they are making the biggest profit, by the way.
Yeah.
The profit margin of Nintendo is insanely high. Yeah, their return of investment absolutely nuts. And so this is where Xbox is now leaving the space. It feels like they are leaving the space to Sony, and I've no doubt that Sony is going to continue to make console, because for them it's even more fundamental in their business. Yeah, they are not going in a direction where they only intend to be a publisher. Yeah, and one last thing, Dutch, I also see a lot of people argue, well, just look at Gen Z and what they are playing, and they are playing on tablets and they don't care for consoles and so on. I understand that the younger generation grew up with different ways to experience games. My kids are playing Minecraft mostly on the tablet, not on the console. I get that. I do understand that. There's still a big market, and those gamers also grow up and they want to play mature games, and they want at some point also play not with a touch screen, which is simply the worst input you can have for a game, right? They want to play the next GTA. They want to eventually play an Assassin's Creed and a FIFA and name it, and a Call of Duty. And you do that on PC or you do that on console.
Yeah.
So this whole Gen Z argument, yes, it is different. And yes, you have to find ways to bring those people into PC or console. But I don't see that the industry is changing in such a way where you have to annihilate basically the competition in the console space.
Yeah. If people think that PlayStation anytime soon, or Nintendo for that matter, are going to bring their exclusive first party titles to Xbox, it's completely incorrect. PlayStation still want to sell PlayStations. Nintendo still want to sell Nintendos. They want to sell their hardware. Xbox don't care about selling hardware. They no longer care about selling hardware. They've said it so much themselves. Hardware isn't their focus anymore.
I would go even one step further. It's not just selling, it's supporting.
Yeah.
And this is, they still have plus minus 30 million serious consoles out there. And can anyone really say that you feel as a console owner, as a first-class customer? There's been lackluster support of the console. All those features that they promised us. We improved DVR. It's 4 years now into this gen and they haven't done shit with it. Yeah, we improved this or that, and we listen to the community feedback and so on, and they do nothing. Yeah, it's with every announcement that Xbox makes, you feel kind of left in the rain. May it be a Towerborn, may it be big games not coming to console. It's always something different, but it is always like, okay, the customer on the console, yeah, well, we have those, yeah, we know we have those, but yeah, and that's the feeling that they bring. And to me, the worst part about this all is to see how the community is divided on this. Yeah, of course, I think for myself, I don't want to move to PC. I want to stay in the console space. I do play occasionally on PC. Yes, H4. Also, I play that on PC, but I love my consoles. I like the convenience when I get home from work after sitting 12, 13, 14 hours in front of a PC. I like to go home, sit on my couch, take my controller in the hand, not a mouse and keyboard, a controller while sitting on the couch, just press on and play my games. That's what I want. And I want a strong and healthy and a competitive console space. And Microsoft is doing everything
in their power to do the
that
opposite.
they can to do the opposite. And that's my issue. Besides, of course, the fact that it breaks my heart to see how this community has been divided by that. If you look at what happened this year, from all the first rumors back in January this year, people that have known each other for years are starting to fight. general excitement in the community around the Xbox brand isn't there. It was supposed to be this, we've waited for decades to finally get Xbox to this place where we get like a regular cadence of quality games, and we have this Gamepass thing, which is the best value, and there's this excitement. And with all that fighting, it divides the community, it takes away the excitement around the brand, which shouldn't happen because we are still getting good games, right? Exciting games. Indiana Jones looks fantastic. But all that people can talk about now, we do as well, not taking myself out here, is about the strategy and the messaging and the question, what's going to happen to Xbox consoles long term. And that is kind of sad to see, because we should be talking about how good indie looks, how well Troy Baker imitates
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford, right? How exciting it is to see where machine games that have done the Wolfenstein games, right, go with a riddle based, an action adventure. Where is this going? What's the plot line going to be? This should be the stuff we talk about, but all we think about is, unfortunately, and that is due to Xbox, what's going to happen? How do you feel about it? Then there are people defending this and saying, well, who cares if other players get to play the game? Who cares? Microsoft is going to make more money. Who cares? Yeah, who cares? I'm not a shareholder of Microsoft. I don't care how much money they make or not. I want good games. We are getting the good games, but I'm at the same time seeing this topic sucking out the excitement out of gaming in the community, and I see people fighting each other, and I see this whole thing as a problem. And at the same time, I do have my own feelings. I don't want the console space to go away, but I can't really say if Microsoft is going to invest any further in it. Yes, there will be one more next gen, no doubt about that.
Yep.
But what is going to happen after that? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Not as long as the corporate suits from Microsoft are making the shots, because they are going to simply look at the hard numbers. We don't have a proper install base. We're making way more money if we just go full publish everything on PlayStation. We're going to still sell the same software, and we can cut out this whole expensive thing of making hardware and being a platform holder. Eventually, if console sales are not increasing significantly, that's what's going to happen. And I don't like that. I don't want that. So I've been rambling on for way too long.
But it's true though. I think people don't understand that. You can say, yeah, you're going to get great games. Well, you are going to get great games, but if there isn't a platform left because the platform isn't selling, then you'll not be playing those great games on a platform anymore. You'll have to switch platforms, because Microsoft simply will not invest in the hardware if the hardware isn't selling anymore. So Microsoft can say to their heart's content, or Phil Spencer can say to his heart's content right now that the hardware isn't going anywhere. But if next gen the hardware releases and only 10 million people buy it, then why would Microsoft themselves look at that and go, what the fuck is the point in this anymore? Why? Why would we invest in hardware now when there's only 10 million people buying the hardware because they can play our games on every other platform? Let's just cut out, like you said, let's just not do the hardware. We can still sell as many units on every other platform.
Yeah. People are still going to play games.
When you get to that point, which if you continue down the same route, you will, because people will no longer have a reason to buy the platform outside of those who refuse to let go of their back catalogs. Some people just don't.
I'm going to buy an Xbox as long as they are making one.
Yep.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah. And that's the weird thing. In general, I really do like what Xbox is doing with the console. I think they have, if I compare it to PlayStation, I think they have the better product there. You have a way better online infrastructure,
Yep.
right? Cloud save, you have things like quick resume, and you have the significantly better backward compatibility, right? All pros for an Xbox console. So I'm definitely going to buy one, but the majority of the gamers, will they?
Yeah.
If the PlayStation already is the hot thing on the street, right? People here we spoke about that. People in Germany don't even know what an Xbox is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's zero brand awareness. So is that going to be enough to have Game Pass? Which, if you bring your games over to PlayStation, that's the only differentiator. Is Game Pass enough?
I just think
Is it?
overall that Xbox are neglecting their core console users. That is the be
Yeah.
all and end all. They are absolutely neglecting what made them popular in the first place. And I think if you look at any platform over the history of time, the moment a company starts to go down the drain is when they start neglecting their core user.
Yeah,
The people
I
that they
agree.
started, and you can look
Yeah.
at through the entire course of time. The moment you start neglecting what got you there in the first place is the moment your company starts to fall. And on Xbox's side, they started with a console and they need to maintain that console because that is their core user base. When you start neglecting that, then you will no longer be a console anymore. You'll just be a publisher. And I feel like that is, if they continue to do things like that, the moment I think the moment we'll see that whitewash here is if they do bring out those core franchises on other platforms. If you see a Forza or a Gears or a Halo go onto other platforms, i.e. PlayStation and or Nintendo, is the moment they have completely chucked in the towel and the console is on the borderline of being non-existent.
Yeah. Then we are at this point that I wanted to describe, where the only differentiator is Game Pass and the value that you get. And yes, you save a lot of money with the Game Pass if you play a lot of games. That's the next thing, right? Not everyone is like us, where we I buy at least 2 games a month. So yeah, but not everybody is like that. Many people only play like 3-4 games a year. Is Game Pass then worth the investment for them? Is that enough to get them into the ecosystem? And that's how it starts. People then play their Fortnites and their FIFAs and their Call of Duties,
Yeah.
and then right, get hooked on other games, and that's how you become a hardcore gamer. That is buying all the good stuff. Is Game Pass enough to lure people in? I am honestly not sure. I know we are getting great value out of Game Pass, and we will continue to do so. But is it enough to grow consoles if the games are available everywhere? Yeah, we are not at this point yet. That's another thing I see. Oh, it's only indie. And Doom has always been multi-platform. Yeah, but that's the point of this whole acquisition thing, right? You buy, if you don't have your own studios, you buy studios to get some thing you can't get anywhere else,
Yep.
and lure people into your ecosystem. That's the entire point of this. But yeah, some big games are already coming. It won't be the last. Phil mentioned in the interview yesterday there will be more changes coming that people might like or might not like. And again, it's not an industry change; it's a Microsoft change.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yep.
So, anything you wanna add to this?
No, I think people just need to be careful what they wish for and stop defending corporations. Just because
Yeah.
Game Pass is popular now or popular-ish doesn't mean that can't change. If Xbox does end up out the console space, they could easily transfer Game Pass onto other platforms because they have a reason to sell it on other platforms then. And other platform holders then don't give a shit because they're not having to compete against Microsoft in a console form.
Yeah.
So then you can go, okay, let me put your subscription on your platform. Sweet, no problem, because I don't care. You don't no longer have a platform.
Yeah.
Right now, the only reason they don't put Game Pass on PlayStation is because Xbox still has a physical platform. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
The only reason. Because they do currently still have a competing platform. But the more they neglect the console user base, and I mean not getting games on their day one that other platforms get day one, like Black Myth, like the other game that was super popular last year that still isn't there, or it took ages to come over to the platform. Then you've got things like Towerborn happening where it's Steam exclusive, de facto exclusive until next year. And then you've got delays of games, and then games going onto other platforms only 2 months afterwards, or even day and date.
Yeah.
And the moment you start putting your big staple IPs over to the other platforms is the moment you're handing in the towel. Because as much as you think Game Pass is a big thing for people right now, if it's on their actual de facto preferred platform day one, they don't give a shit about Game Pass anymore. They'd rather just play it on their favorite platform. As much as you think $70 versus $17.99 is a thing that is bothering people, it doesn't, because the vast majority of people don't play that many games every month or every year. The vast majority of console users play 5 or 6 games a year.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah. That is the fact. Yeah. And again, it's even worse than that. That the fact that we are uncertain about the future. I'm not saying it's completely doomed, but I see the problem with this, that it is going to be probably a hard discussion within Microsoft. For how long are we going to support a platform if it's not growing, if it's even declining? Besides all that concern, the issue really is how divisive that is in the community. And Xbox has always been very community focused. Yeah, that's why they are at Gamescom. Gamescom is not a marketing event, it's a community event. Yeah, people going to Gamescom are already heavily invested in gaming. No casual gamer is going to Gamescom. That's for gaming fans, and for them it's a great service. Xbox has always been about community, and they divide this community so heavily, and that's really the sad part, right? Like you said, they lose the core fans, or make them argue about the platform instead of focusing on the good stuff. And Gamescom is the best example. They are the only platform holder being there, right? They have tons of good games at the showcase, at the opening night live. They have even more games in their Xbox booth, and all that is talked about, all the media is talking about not how good About looks. They are talking about, okay, Xbox strategy and bringing indie to PlayStation.
Yeah.
And it's all on them, and it has nothing to do, again, with the industry. It was their decision to stand on the big stage and announce it out of the mouth of Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
And that is just beyond me. But Dutch, let us move on. Or probably we're gonna stay on this topic because our community questions this week
Yes.
all are around this topic. But I definitely want to get to those community questions.
Jingle.
Jingle time. Jingle, jingle. All right, Dutch. I again ran out of gameplay, so I have to change real quick. Some gameplay.
Yeah.
There you go. We are switching games now. We are watching some Season 5 Diablo 4 gameplay now from me earlier this week.
Nice.
First question of the day comes in from Pyro Mad, and he asks, in regards to the discourse around Xbox multi-platform direction, if hypothetically it did lead to an end of Xbox home systems in under 10 years, where would you place the blame? The ignorant on here are blaming Phil, the dumb are blaming the Series S. Myself, I'm aiming at Satya. Yeah,
absolutely. But at the same time, Satya and Microsoft have also plumped up $80 billion to Microsoft. So naturally, shareholders are going to say, we want that money back. So you best make us that money back.
Yeah.
So yes,
and with
naturally,
interest.
the shareholders are going to be demanding things change, and ultimately they'll also be, as we've seen, Satya Nadella doesn't care if everything's on every platform. He doesn't understand exclusivity. He doesn't understand why exclusivity is actually important on the console space. And he literally doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And you know why he doesn't care? Because he's a money man. Satya Nadella was in position to make Microsoft the most profitable and biggest company in the world. He's done that on multiple occasions, and he will continue to make the decisions that make the best sense for the company as a whole, not just Xbox. So yes, Xbox's direction is right now all down to Satya.
Yeah. Petron in the chat says also 100% Satya. While that is true, after Microsoft investing $80 billion, Microsoft, and with that, the shareholders want the return of investment. It comes down to what I tried to explain earlier. Yeah, money is expensive, and you want that 10+% return of investment. Microsoft could have also taken the $80 billion and invested them, let's say, in the stock market and make 10% each year.
Or pharmaceuticals, or AI.
Or pharmaceuticals, or whatever, yeah? And make that. But they decided to invest in gaming. And of course, now the Xbox division has to pay that back. Now, who made the decision to get ABK?
Yep.
If the ABK acquisition is the problem, who made that? That wasn't Phil, right? And and his team, his leadership team. They made the decision, hey, we need to ask Satya for $80 billion and promise him to make a return of investment. So I think solely blaming it on Satya would also not be completely the whole story, but of course that is the outcome now.
Yeah.
Right? So Takeso Shinobi writes in, when does Microsoft will stop making Xbox consoles? I personally see it happening after one more gen of consoles. With them not currently focusing on having a mid-gen performance refresher, it's clear that their path is to slowly move away from that. You see, Dutch, all the questions, the community questions are around that topic. And people have divided opinions on that.
We covered this before. It ultimately boils down to how successful the next generation is. If we've already seen this gen is performing worse than the Xbox One gen, which means ultimately it's also performing worse than the 360 gen, because 360 finished on 90 million consoles, Xbox One was 50 million. we're not near that already with this gen. It's just not. It's not performing as well. And if it continues that downward trend on the hardware slope, it's only a matter of time until they don't make hardware. It's not a case of whether or not we want it that way. The trend is downwards. Microsoft will only continue to invest in hardware up to a certain point, and then they'll just not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
1 gen, maybe it's 2 gens. But it really boils down to getting the strategy right for the next box.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I said this on Twitter. Right now, I don't have a reason to invest in the next box. Right now, as it stands right now, there is not a reason for me to invest in the next box. They need to give a reason to invest in the next box. Game Pass isn't the sole reason, because I have a PC that is capable of playing everything on that.
Yeah.
So like, to
I've
invest
said
in hardware,
months
you
ago,
need a reason. You need a reason,
Yeah.
and it's not just like for Boxy, for you mainly. The reason is not just I like having the console. It's the convenience factor. It's the plug and play factor. It's being able to come in and turn it on, and that's on a big screen. I don't have to sit on a desk and play on a computer. It's the convenience factor, and for a lot of people that is going to be the case, and they will continue
Yeah.
to be the case. But then there's others who have just went, well, no, fuck this. Like, I've got into the PC space now. I can do everything that I can do on an Xbox on my PC, and better, and get more of it. And if I don't get Ultimate, then Game Pass is cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I've said months ago on this podcast and on Twitter that I think Microsoft is going to move away from the classic console, even with next gen. What I believe is that they will do is to stop focusing on two different ecosystems, console and PC. They will try to unify that. The rumors are already out there about Epic and other launchers coming to Xbox. What I believe what they will do is they will base the next Xbox is more going to be a PC than a console. They will make, I don't know, a Windows Lite version for that. You know, that it's running at the same at the same internal kernels like a Windows, so that developers don't have to make two different versions for console and PC anymore. And that's the whole reason why they have set up again a backward compatibility team, because they were done with the backward compatibility, right? Yeah. They shut that team down, and now they reopened that. With that, they are making sure that the next Xbox that will run Windows and not the Xbox OS is still supported. That's the reason for this backwards compatibility program. And the next console is basically a PC that you can put under your TV. It's going to be some sort of Windows Lite version. And that's because if you look at it, basically Steam has made a console.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck is basically exactly that. It is not a Windows Lite version. It runs under Linux. I get that. But the idea is the same. And since Xbox is now a bigger division within Microsoft than the Windows department, they can call the shots. So far, the Windows department probably laughed at Xbox when they said, hey, you make a dedicated Windows version just for our console. But I think that they are trying to unite those two, because that's really the issue for them, right? At the end of the day, they have developers skipping the Xbox platform because they don't want to build a separate version for it. They have seen the issues with the Series S, where it's just, okay, developers have to build two different console versions now for a super small install base, but our big install base is PC. And if we make a unified system and have that convenience of a console combined with the convenience for developers to just develop for PC, that would solve basically their problems. And so that's my personal guess where the next Xbox is going. It's not gonna run an Xbox OS. It's gonna run a Windows version, probably a light version, because nobody wants to boot up a console and have the Windows bar there and browse through PowerPoint and Excel before they get to their games, right? But at its core, it's going to be a Windows-based console. I do believe that, and that's going to be the next console. And then they have, and with that, they even have the potential to outsource and license that out, right, to third-party manufacturers and stuff. Dave Ramos writes in, more a comment, Boxy, and I'd like to get your guys' thoughts. The more I think about Xbox and their next gen being more like a PC, I'm starting to see the future where Xbox is a PC. Well, basically, it's just what we said. PC and handhelds are consoles. Traditional Xbox consoles will be gone. Xbox margins will migrate to the Gen 10 Xbox PC hybrid experience. Non-console players can access Xbox anywhere with an xCloud subscription, and PlayStation Switch players get access to most Xbox games either day one, like Doom and Dark Ages, or delayed indie games. So I think at least I already answered my thoughts on that. Yeah. So let's move on to the Sith Lord's question. Why can't people grow up and understand that times are changing? Xbox and Microsoft is a business. To allow more people to play more games, they must be in more places. Our exclusive is Gamepass. Others must pay $70 per game. We as Xbox fans win. While I do agree with that of course we are still winning in terms of our own wallet right now. The question remains, how long is Xbox going to stay in there? Because we have not won anything if they are going to leave the console space.
Yep.
That is, I think, the big concern of people. Yeah. At least that's my concern.
Yep.
Can't speak for everyone. Anything you want to add?
No. I think we've covered that, and I think that's still the concern. Yeah, it's about whether or not the console is successful next gen, and they have to have a reason for it to be successful. Like Gamepass isn't solely a reason, because you can just keep your old Xbox and you still got access to Gamepass. The vast majority of games are going to be cross-gen for quite some time, so you're still going to play all your games on Gamepass day one, and on your current console, you still need to give a reason to invest in the next one.
Yeah.
And not just us, the casuals.
That's the thing, right? This whole games are coming to PlayStation isn't an issue for us this year or next year.
Nope.
Or even in 26. It's the long-term question that comes up. Right now, of course, Xbox Game Pass, best value in gaming, no doubt. No doubt. Dutch, that already brings us to an end of this podcast.
It does.
Oh, well, already we have been here for almost 3 hours now. But as always, it has been a blast. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone who tuned in here today and discussed with us not just Gamescom, but of course intensively the Xbox strategy. We super appreciate you all tuning in. If you are listening after the fact on the podcast services like Spotify or Apple Podcast, of course, also a big thank you for listening. And Dutch, let everyone know what you've coming up and where they can find you.
Yes, indeed. Quick shout out to a few member chats as well that I haven't covered off at the moment.
Oh, sure.
Dazarus rejoining as an Xbox as a midweek mix-up recruit, and Dave Ramos for 20 months said cheers to Gamescom and Gamescom memories. So shout out to Dave Ramos as well. But yes, you can find me everywhere, WandrinDutch or WandrinDutch X on Twitter. And yeah, I think this weekend I'll be streaming some Red Dead Redemption 2 because I'll be jumping into that for technically the first time since it launched, and I only played like 3 hours of it. So I'm starting it and I'm going to play through it properly and I'm going to enjoy my time. So I'll be doing that probably on the weekend because we've got a nice long weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, and other than that, we have a nice break next week and the week after.
Yes, we do.
So yes, you'll be sunning it up.
Yeah. I'll be sunning it up. People, someone on Twitter recently mentioned to me I should just stay off the gaming things and just enjoy my vacation. I know other people take a good book with them on vacation. I love to take my Ellie with me and just enjoy games.
Yeah.
That's the best way how I can relax. And so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to Italy for 2 weeks, 12 days actually. But that means, like you said, we're going to not miss next week's and the week after podcast, but we will be back in September then.
Yeah.
Freshly rested. You also had your vacation then.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna, September 5th, we will be back. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have an awesome show then. Until then, guys, I want to say again a big thank you for tuning in, for engaging with us in the chat and sharing your thoughts. We super appreciate that. Enjoy some games, and we see you in 2 weeks. And don't forget to game on.
Got my number figured out, a motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, rather be a dreamer.